Oh, you damn right. Let's get a modcast going for this Tuesday. Remember, Tuesdays at noon here in your springtime. We'll get you the special modcast where we get all the information we can out of Anwar Richardson, Jason Sukamel, Alex Dunlap. Alex is back from the Combine in Indianapolis. Jason's got that 3-2-1 article out for you. And I don't know what you've been doing today, but Anwar Richardson's been breaking stories left and right. And that is where we are going to start today. Got some updates on the Texas coaching staff. Nothing crazy on a loss, Texas fans. That's good news. It's just another addition, though, Anwar, something that had been talked about, I guess, for a little while in this modern age of college football. You are allowed to bring in analysts, as many as you want, and sounds like Sark is doing it. So let's update everybody that doesn't know who's going to be wearing burnt orange, at least temporarily.
Yeah, I mean, Sark has hired West Virginia, former West Virginia coach, obviously, Neil Brown. He got fired after last season, after the team finished 6-6. He joins the staff as an analyst, kind of follows in the path of, former coaches who could be there, kind of help coaching on the field, like all those kind of little things. And so, obviously, Sark has familiarity with him from the days of being in the Big 12 and what he's able to do from a coaching staff. What impact it'll have. Sark's got a lot of guys on staff at this moment, so I don't know. It's a huge impact per se, but it's a name that Texas fans may be familiar with, and it's another addition and another person who can help out.
So, guys, when I think of this type of person in Sark, the biggest one that pops in my head is Gary Patterson. Is this the first time he's done this with a name everybody knows, former head coach on the offensive side?
Paul Chryst. No, Paul Chryst.
Paul Chryst. You're right. My bad. Yeah, Paul Chryst. Okay. So that part of it, I guess, if I'm a fan trying to follow these stories, it's that. I mean, that aspect of it being on Sark's side of the ball and a lot of West Virginia influence. So the former West Virginia head coach and also the guy that's been calling plays for West Virginia the last couple of years in Chad Scott. Chad Scott obviously on the staff as the running back coach, but now the former coach coming in here. Jason, your reaction to this Neil Brown story?
Yeah, that was kind of where my mind went initially. I mean, I think, if I'm reading Anwar correctly, I'm kind of more like Anwar. When I hear support staff guys, I'm like, they're not as hands-on. They're not involved in recruiting. They're not doing as much stuff on game day. He'll be a good guy to bounce ideas off of, an offensive mind. Did good things offensively, pretty good at West Virginia and Texas Tech and Kentucky and but I'm like, that's Sark's offense. It's always going to be Sark's offense. So, I don't think he'll have as much impact even as maybe like Gary Patterson did. But I thought it was interesting after hiring Chad Scott for the running backs coach, you go out and get his former boss as I'm assuming an analyst position, or I would think an analyst position. So, I think it's an interesting hire. I think it's a good hire. He's a good offensive mind. He's, known as in college circles as a good offensive mind. My immediate thought, does Sark need a lot of help? Probably not, but can't hurt to, if he has some creative ideas that you can implement and I think Sark would tell you, you're always evolving. You're always tweaking things and trying new things and putting in new ideas. So if Neil Brown can bring some fresh ideas, you can get him on the cheap for maybe a year, maybe two. Yeah, why not bring him in?
I think there's some snarky fans out there right now thinking there's a 20-yard stretch of ground where maybe he needs a little help on the offensive side, and maybe this is a guy that can help out. Alex, give me your thoughts on Neil Brown coming in. When you hear a story like this, offensive side of the ball and Sark, like how much excitement can you really have at the beginning of March here?
Well, I don't think that I don't think you bring in an air raid guy to help you in the short area of the field, right?
That's fair. That's fair.
I do think it's interesting. Wasn't he like he played? Didn't Neil Brown? I think he played under Hal Mummy, maybe.
Oh wow! Did he really? I didn't know that.
So. I'd have to. I think
he started at Kentucky, but he finished at UMass. I don't know if.
Okay. Well, anyway. I know he was with like Tuberville and stuff. Like he's a wide open, fast paced. You can just think about his teams at West Virginia. It's like all you guys have said. I don't think that, Neil Brown's coming in here to really consult with Sark about the things he needs to do to, run a tempo offense or anything like that. I do think it's one of these things. It's like this circle of elders, or like, not that, this kind of panel of advisors. It's the same thing that Saban always did, right? It's like a good coach he's in limbo.
Like Charlie Strong.
What?
Like Charlie Strong when he runs.
Yeah, that's a good coach that's kind of in limbo, right? Like Bill
Alex, I'm sorry to interrupt. He did play under Hal Mumme for a couple of years. You're right. So.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Obviously a lot of influence there. But I do think it's like, man, you get these coaches, especially the ones that have been in the head coach's chair. I mean, Sark has actually been one of those guys whenever he was with Saban, right? He's also seen the ones come through. He probably knows the value that he felt like that he brought Sark, he knows the value that he probably brought Saban in that role. I think he just takes a whole lot from Coach Saban, and having these head coaches around, again, it's not something where he's going to go to him and say, like, what do I need to do to revamp this offense or whatever. Sark has his own bag he's going to get into with all that stuff. But as far as things on the margins in a college football, man, right now in the SEC, we've seen it. Anwar, we've talked about it a million times, man. A lot of these are tough games, man, to play a whole season, man. You got to win on the margins. And I think having somebody that's been in that chair that can help you just be like, hey, man, even stuff with the team and the culture and things like that. This is something that we did, kind of worked. Maybe you could implement something like that. I think it's more about just having this panel of experts who you trust, who you respect, and you get out of them what you can get out of them. And Sark has been told that he can have the staff that he wants, and why not take full advantage? I think it's a fine hire. I don't think it's anything that's going to dramatically change what Texas is doing on offense, though. Certainly.
Man, Anwar, I've been calling this. Maybe this is the start of the Sark car wash. We used to talk about the Saban car wash, where coaches come out clean. Maybe this is kind of the beginning of Sark trying to do that too. Maybe repair whatever image Neil Brown would have right now as a fired head coach. We'll see how he comes out of.
I mean, it's only benefits Neil Brown. I mean, he didn't have a lot of success at West Virginia. I mean, he's
barely over 500, right, total.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was 37 and 35 was his record there at West Virginia. So he doesn't leave West Virginia, and then all of a sudden the coaching world is like, oh my God, like we have to have that guy, and he got fired. Pretty early. He got fired right after the season in December. So not like he landed into something there. So yeah, if you are Neil and you don't have the best offers that are out there, you don't have head coaching offers that you really love or coordinator offers that you would really love, then yeah, you let West Virginia keep paying you and enjoy that. And then you come to Texas for, a year and you see what else is out there when it's all said and done. So hopefully you last longer than Dwayne Akina's first stint as an analyst, because I believe that was like an hour before he decided to go somewhere else. So hopefully it lasts a little bit longer than that, but it can only help. I think Brown, especially being around Sark and this offense.
And Anwar, just to close off the details here, any idea on what the exact title is going to be? Not that it really matters here, but I mean, I think we could all guess about what it might be. Have you?
Yeah, offensive analyst, the specifics as to what the title looks like. But yeah, Alex is saying like he's not going to be helping on DBs, right? So we can narrow that portion down and then go from there.
Yeah, his coaching career, if you look back through it, I believe it started as a wide receivers coach, and then it was quarterbacks. Those are the two main things I think that he's been dealt with in terms of individual positions. So again, Neil Brown, the former West Virginia coach, joining the Longhorn staff as some sort of offensive analyst. Obviously, that would be the interpretation there. It is the Modcast. Shout out to Daily and Black. If you haven't tried them out, give them a shot. They will help you with whatever legal issues you're dealing with. Check them out. There's your QR code to check out Daily and Black. Remember, it is Daily, DALY, Black.com. They are your sponsor each and every week for the Modcast. Anwar, as soon as certain Texas fans saw your post on orangebloods.com that Neil Brown was going to be an analyst, the next name that they were thinking of was a running back at West Virginia named Jaheim White. I'm just asking for a bunch of friends that wear burnt orange. Any Jaheim White stuff that you're hearing?
I mean,
Tuesday.
I don't know. Like, it's funny. People always try to do this automatic connotation that as soon as their head coach leaves, that now all of a sudden he's like the Pied Piper and all these people are going to follow him. So I haven't heard that. It happens all the time. I mean, I think, Keena left and, one of the DBs that, they're like, oh, is he going to bring one of these guys from Arizona, over here, right? And that, happened a little bit.
It would have been Chad Scott that would have brought Jaheim.
His name surfaced when Chad Scott came over, and they were really close, apparently. But again, it's like Almar said, it's just kind of common sense that you're going to talk about it and throw it out there as a possibility, right? Does that mean it's actually going to happen? I don't know. I know West Virginia people are a little bit nervous about it, but
I mean, it should. I mean, it should be. I mean, once they get into the spring, right? But again, I don't know. I can't say that I know the nature of their relationship and that it's so close of a relationship that this makes a huge difference, with him. Like, you just never know. You never know how close players really are with their coaches. Just because you coach them doesn't mean you actually. Alex can tell you, throughout the years, you might play for some coach. It don't mean you like them. So,
yeah.
Chad came over to Texas. Jaheim did put something on X, and I'm paraphrasing, but hey, thanks so much, coach. You developed me to be not just a better football player, but a better man off the field. So just based off that, I think they probably have a good relationship. Is it good enough to listen, man? A lot of things can go into the NIL, playing time. What's their offensive line look like at West Virginia? I mean, a lot of elements can go into that, but it's certainly a story worth watching, Chad, I think for sure.
Yeah, and then this comment from Big Cheddar says, why are so many fans excited about this West Virginia running back? If he's not a bona fide 5-star type, then who really cares? Big Cheddar, I'll just throw one number at you. The last 2 seasons, he's averaged 6.54 a carry.
Yeah.
That's why. That's why. But I'll admit, Alex, it's not a guy I've broken down a ton on film, and I have not been watching a lot of West Virginia football. All of a sudden, not following the Big 12 as focused anymore. But this is a guy that's thrown some productivity out there, and West Virginia's run game over the last couple of years has been either comparable or maybe even better than Texas in a couple of key areas.
Well, I mean, look, and I know it's the Big 12 versus the SEC and stuff, and I totally get it. But you have a combo of those two guys where they've been. It's been to be completely honest, I'm one of the people who would have been on Orange Bloods. I didn't even think about the whole Neil Brown thing because I think it matters so much more about your position coach. Because the way that your position coach implemented you, he's gonna, he's say like, dude, let's just run it back. Let's just go do this. Let's go do it at Texas. We do this. Like we would do duo, but they're going inside zone. It's the same. It's going to be some of the, it's a little bit different, but a lot of the same concepts. And let's go ahead and run it back. It just feels like hearing that from your position coach, who's actually going to be coaching you, is a lot different than hearing it from your old head coach, and who knows how much interaction you had with him. And he's not even an on-field coach. You're not going to have any sort of communication with him all the time. But yeah, whenever I heard about the Chad Scott thing, that was one of the first things I thought about. And it's not to say that I think Jaheim White is just he's some kind of Ashton Genty or Omari and Hampton or one of these, super stud running backs that are in this upcoming draft class that we watched the RJ Harveys of the world, the Jarquez Hunters, or gosh, there was all of them, the Ohio State guys. I'm not saying that I feel like he's at that level, but I am saying that Texas has some injury concerns with their running backs coming into next season. They just do. I mean, I did see that picture of Christian Clark having 405 on the front squats. Have you guys seen that?
No, I heard about it. I haven't seen it yet.
That's on X or Instagram or something. Just interesting there. It looks like he's coming along okay. But, dude, that's a concern. CJ Baxter's a concern, right? And then we saw, last year with Trey Wisner, that was, there's the A&M game, and then there's some of the others, the Georgia games. And, it's like there are concerns with the running backs and with the depth and with the injuries and stuff coming back. I think having a prepackaged sort of duo like that with those two guys was certainly something that would be interesting to me. It's the first thing I kind of thought about whenever Chad Scott was hired, but I didn't think about it at all whenever, as it pertains to the whole Neil Brown thing.
Yeah, but as I start doing as Alice is talking, I'm looking up, and Rich Rodriguez is talking about Jaheim White, and basically talking about how he's going to have a outstanding season. They're going to focus the offense around him, like all these kind of things. Like if you are him, you're got a coach that loves you. You're a junior, so you're pretty much going to be out the door after the season anyway. Do you really want to uproot yourself, or you just want to do one more year and just call it a day?
Yeah, it's a good point. Jaheim White definitely.
He did put something on X about 2 weeks ago. Jaheim White basically said, "Hey, go harder, be better. Let's respond." Tag West Virginia football. So, social media, he's doing the things that would make you think he's planning on staying. It's a picture of him working out with his teammates. But again, the April transfer portal window isn't for another month and a half, roughly. So things can certainly change. But I understand why people are talking about it. But I have not heard anything concrete. Actual. Okay, yeah, this is other than just kind of, oh, hey, it makes a little bit of sense that maybe he would be looking at Texas. But
yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. Also, something for you to keep your eye on if you are an online poker player. There's a tournament going on tomorrow. If you want to jump in, if you've always dreamed of playing online poker with Jeff Ketchum, well, your dream can come true tomorrow. hijackpoker.com. Use the code OB20, I believe, to get in there. You can always deposit and cash out at any of the Texas Card House locations. But tomorrow at noon, as the show happens, it'll be like the old radio days. Ketch will be playing online poker and pretending to pay attention to me and the show. hijackpoker.com. Check it out. Alex, are you in? You in for tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm in. I was saying this, like if my work's not going to get mad at me for playing at a poker tourney at noon, I'm playing.
The different, yeah. A little different thing. What does your boss think? Oh, he's doing it too. Like he's the one that told me to get in there.
Better let Catch win, Alex.
Yeah, right.
That ain't happening.
That's a whole nother discussion.
He might end up winning, but I'm not going to let him.
All right. So also Texas football wise, Anwar, in addition to, we did get real quick, before we get to some other stuff that Anwar had out today, let's grab a super chat here. We always remind you, super chats go right to the top of the list. Football Junkie, $4.99. Thank you very much for that. Alex, in talk of Manny Muhammad being a top pick in 2026 draft while in Indy. Oh, any talk of Muhammad being a top pick in 2026 while in Indy, I think he could be CB1. Reminds me of Terrion Arnold.
No, I didn't hear any talk about that.
It's funny. Like towards the end of the season, Texas fans were like pretty down on Manny.
Yeah.
Talking about him, quarterback one in
revisionist history right there.
Honestly, the player that there's talk about Anthony Hill next year. You hear a lot of that. But it's, to be quite honest, man, the talk that you hear from people that are kind of the actual, like the scouts and the evaluators and the agents and things that are there that you talk to at the, you talk to them after the events are over at the bars or at the restaurants. Like it's Colin Simmons that people talk about, and clearly that's not 2026.
Alex,
that's 2027. Oh, Gooseby. Yeah. Gooseby got 2026. Heard more about him than I did Manny Muhammad.
Could Gooseby be a one and done? I mean, in terms of starters?
It's well, it's just interesting to me because it's like, I told you guys like earlier back during the season when Catch was like, hey, try and get some intel from these scouts and stuff like that about the Texas players like you've gotten in the past. And I'm like, man, it's going to be easier once I'm at the Senior Bowl or the Combine where I'm around them, and information is more free flowing. And but besides that, I was like, dude, I think Texas is so high profile this year that they're not calling me and asking me about guys because they're having to just do all this work on Texas anyway. They used to call me and ask me about, like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this dude? What do they say about this? Now they're spending resources on Texas, and they have these guys really scouted, really well. And so whenever you do this information exchange with them, it's like now they would give me info about what they think about these Texas players that are in the draft this year, right? But then they come back and ask me, what about 74 that came in for Banks, and then they came in for came in for Cam. What do you know about him? Because our in some of our cross-check stuff, some of the people were sort of talking about, well, who's this guy? Is he a backup? And so I had to give him the rundown on Gooseby and sort of how he, how that kind of came into play, and the fact, the whole thing about him not only being the left tackle, but being the swing tackle, and honestly grading out on my scale as good as these other starters did during those tough games. That what people were most, and this was a scout, most impressed with how he hung in versus A&M, because he's like, here I'm looking at Shamar Stewart, and he didn't have great production at Texas A&M, but he just at the Senior Bowl, he was a monster. The guy looks like a complete Adonis there at the combine. He might go top 10, and that'll be based on projection. But there was Shamar Stewart in that game. There was Nick Scorton in that game. There was all this stuff. Not a peep out of his side of the line of scrimmage. And they're just like that, so they're digging in on him, trying to, and so that's like, I told you all this stuff, but like, now you got to tell me what about this guy, right? I didn't have any conversations like that about Manny Muhammad. Like, it feels like in the 2026 class, the only guys I really talked to anybody about were, there was, people were asking me about Gilbo, about whether he was going to make the only cornerback thing was like, are they going to move Gilbo to corner? And Anwar has something on that. At that point, I didn't know, but I'd only been told that they picture him being kind of taking over the Jade Barron mantle next year. They didn't. I said, does that mean he's moving to corner? And this is a different source I spoke to at Texas, right? They said, does that mean he's moving to corner? And they said, not necessarily, but they just think he's really primed for a big step. But they didn't tell me that he's not moving to corner. Yeah. And so they were asking me about that, and then they would ask me about Trevor Gooseby. And then they would, they already know about Anthill. They already know about Colin Simmons. I didn't get asked anything about Manny Muhammad. Interesting. And I to be honest, man, Manny Muhammad needs to come prove some things this year. Yeah, he wasn't quite the lockdown corner that everybody gives him the credit for being. He was very, very, very good, very, very good. But I don't see him as a potential CB1 right now. I think he needs to have a terrific season next season to be in that kind of lofty discussion.
Look at Alex Dunlap. What a pro. He's talking himself all the way back to the update we're about to get from Anwar. It's perfect. Anwar, we got position changes that are being talked about, that are being, tried, I guess, on the Texas defensive side of the ball. Alex just mentioned one of the guys, so let's dig into him. Let everybody know kind of
I'm just gonna throw the ball out here and let Alex take over from here, because this is his forte, and this is like the thing that probably gets him pumped up more than anything else. But Trey Moore moving from an edge position to outside linebacker. Jelani McDonald switching from the safety to the star position, and Jalen Gilbo switching from star to cornerback, as Alex is saying, hopefully with the hopes that he could be, that Jade Barron kind of replacement in 2025. Jade was a guy that they had to move to cornerback last year. My people tell me they had to move to cornerback because, they weren't quite sure what they had at that position, and that's why they moved Jade to it. We all know Gilbo's a stud. And so, having him there, it may not be a huge drop off. I asked about, hey, well, what about the Trey Moore from edge to outside linebacker? They said it would kind of tailor more to his skill set. Also would help him probably have a better chance of getting drafted when it's all said and done. So those are three things. I know there's some talk about Ryan Niblett that's been out there. I haven't really confirmed that portion of it, but I do have at least those three that was out there. And so I'll just let Alex take the baton from there.
Alex, of those three, what's the one that jumps out to you the most?
So is Gilbo, Trey Moore, and what's the other one again? And
Jelani McDonald transitioning to star.
They're all giant. I think that's some of the, I think that's a great, that's big news from Anwar. Those are all big things. So
you like all those moves for all three guys?
I find them all very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So with Trey Moore, the obvious, the number one reason that that's occurring is you can't have Colin Simmons really splitting as many snaps with him this next season. So they play the same position, and I toyed with the idea of maybe, during this springtime, I was like, well, maybe Trey Moore could kind of platoon that thing over on the other side with that defensive end with Ethan Burke, since Colton Bosick is having to miss the spring with his new shoulder injury, right? But I've since talked to some people. I put these reports on Orange Bloods that that they're working out Lance Jackson and Justice Terry over there at that defensive end with those guys. I think they in hopes that they're going to get to move inside the 3 technique at some point. But those guys are working out over there, right? What are you going to do? You have Trey Moore platoon that thing with Ethan Burke and then not get those guys any reps? Those guys are going to have to play. Justice Terry's going to have to play, at least in sub packages this year. And so in those heavy sub packages, when he's lined up over there at the 5 technique, he's at least getting work at the 5 technique right now in base, to where he can, if they just use him in the sub packages, the heavier packages, he'll be fine head up or on the outside eye of an offensive tackle, even though eventually the hope, of course, is to get him on the outside eye of the guard at the 3 technique. Now, Trey Moore, what they really like about him is his ability to drop into coverage. They think that he can cover the slot. They think he can do things besides just rush the edge. He's good enough at stuffing the run. My question, though, is, as an outside linebacker is a sort of an interestingly defined term within the scope of this defense. It's certainly a sub-package type player, right? Like, if we're going to talk about who the sort of outside linebacker was last year, generally that guy plays in either the dime package, the dollar package, or the NASCAR package, right? And that's where they go to 3 linebackers, and those are passing situations. Now, that last year was kind of the smaller guys like Maurice Blackwell, whereas this year I was thinking maybe a Ty Anthony Smith or somebody could play into that kind of role. If they don't think that Ty Anthony Smith is ready to step into that type of role, now, because, of course, the inside linebackers, you have a situation where you have Ant Hill, but now you also have Brad Spence coming in from Arkansas. You have Leonga Lafau coming back, who was a starter last year. It's kind of up in the air who will start between those 2 guys. So you kind of have the inside linebackers taken care of. If they're trying to get Trey Moore used in more of an off-ball sort of, off-ball, just call it outside linebacker. I think it's going to be something where I don't think they're going to fundamentally change the defense. But it's just like that guy last year was basically like a Maurice Blackwell type who played like 21% of snaps. Whereas last year you had Trey Moore playing 60% of snaps. I don't think they're going to cut Trey Moore's snaps.
And you had Trey Moore and Alex, Trey Moore's playing those snaps at D end, I'm assuming, and not outside linebacker. Do we know how much Trey Moore has covered in his career?
Well,
how much has he been asked to cover?
But you have to remember that, so Texas has a jack defensive end that's a strong side defensive end, and that last year was Barron Sorrell, right? And then the Buck defensive end last year was platooned with basically Trey Moore and Colin Simmons, right? And that Buck defensive end, they say it's like a defensive end / OLB hybrid, if that makes any sense. And so you can have a lot of outside linebacker responsibility playing that Buck end. But what's different about Texas when it goes to a 3 linebacker set, the Buck stays in there, but he's going to always be at that weak side end, even though it's not always weak side. So I wonder if this means that Trey Moore is going to be playing less snaps. And even if he is playing less snaps, it'll be in a new setting. And Anwar's reporting what the staff, correct me if I'm wrong, Anwar, but they think that he can put some new stuff on tape for NFL teams doing this, which is certainly true. And so for him, he can say, like, look, put me in there on the snaps where I'm most effective. Maybe he doesn't want to be in there for 60% of snaps and sticking his nose up there against the run for half of them. Maybe he just say, like, dude, give me 35% of snaps and get me in there so I can pin my ears back, or I can run with this guy up and down the seam. So that's what I think about the Trey Moore stuff. Jalen Gilbo, I don't know what to think about it. I think Jalen Gilbo is an awesome player. And you know what? Maybe last year around this time, I would have said, man, Johnny Barron's so good at star. Why would you want to move him? Right. And then I would have looking back at what happened, it feels idiotic.
Right.
So,
and that's kind of what, Anwar, the idea there is try to get a carbon copy of Jahdae Barron. Do what you did with Barron and hope it works like that.
I mean, yeah, and again, and Alice would have the numbers, right? I just know eye test wise, I know what Gilbo brought. I mean, Gilbo's the guy that I think we're going back. He was the guy that Alice, correct me if I'm wrong. Gilbo was almost ahead of Jahdae before he got hurt, like a couple of years ago. On the depth chart, and so like he was a guy that they were excited when he was able to come back this season and be able to be have that kind of productivity, and so he's been a guy they've always been high on behind the scenes. Like that's always been a thing.
Not only him, man. Like not only them. Like other there have been scouting directors for other teams that call me up and ask me what do they think of Gilbo? Any chance that he'll transfer? But people are interested in Gilbo. It's like so. I don't know. I don't know how tall is Gilbo? Does anybody know? Like, let me just look.
I should have a roster right here. Let me tell you. He's listed at 6 foot 190.
Do you think he's 6 feet? What do they have Jahdae listed as?
Oh, good one. 5'11", 200.
Huh.
Which is probably pretty.
Jahdae measured in small with short arms at the combine.
Is that where he measured, Alex, in terms of height? I didn't even double check the height on him.
Yeah, it was like 5'11". So
5'11"?
I just know. I paid most attention to the 29-inch arms. But
not the hands.
I mean, it's the no, man. It's the look, man. The 40 time made up for those 29-inch arms for sure.
That's my question with Gilbo.
He can get the arms there very quickly, very quickly.
Even as a recruit, Jalen Gilbo, he was always like jacked up. I mean, this dude's put together really well, right? He's strong. He's gonna be great at line of scrimmage. But does he have the speed that Jahdae had to run with receivers at outside corner? That's my only concern with him. That was even a concern from college coaches coming out of high school. So, but hey, these coaches have seen him. They know more than I do at this point. So, in fact, I mean, I would have never guessed Jahdae coming out of high school to go on. What do you ran a 4.40, right, Alex? 4.4 flat.
Jahdae, I think it was 4.39.
It was a 4. Yeah, I think you're right. I think officially was a 4.39. So, it's funny, man. Matthew Golden. I mean, none of these guys were like speed demons coming out of high school, but credit to Texas, man. They've got these guys running.
They get them running fast, dude. They get them running fast for sure.
Yeah, I mean, something like Xavier Worthy was a guy coming out of high school. Xavier Worthy was a speed guy, and nobody thought 4.21 or where the hell he ran, but he was a speed guy. But the guys that went out this year and ran were not speed guys. Gilbo is not a speed guy coming out of high school, but if they've been able to do with Gilbo what they did with Jahdae, with Matthew Golden, then throw him out there on the outside and see how he does. But that would be my one small concern with him at cornerback.
Jason, I'll just say I just think the work that Torrey Becton and that staff do with these guys in the offseason really, they do a body transformation and all kinds of things. When these guys get there in the fall, you're like, who the hell is that? Mm-hmm. And we see speed, like they gain all that.
And I've even heard Anwar, in talking to recruits, offensive linemen mentioning, man, what Becton does with speed is impressive, and it's appealing to even offensive linemen. So, he's got some tricks up his sleeve that really seem to work for sure.
Well, I was talking, and we'll get back to the other the thing because about the Jelani McDonald. Although with Jelani McDonald, I think we can just say that it's pretty easy. If they're thinking about moving Gilbo to corner, they need somebody to play star, and they probably don't want it to be Wardell Mack. Right. And Jelani McDonald can play star. So I think that's pretty easy as far as why that's going on. But as far as Torrey Becton, I was talking with somebody a few weeks ago. And interestingly, I don't forgot how we got in this conversation, but they were comparing Torrey Becton to Yancey McKnight.
Oh, God.
And they said that, and I forgot why we were talking about this. But he was like, dude, what the difference in how much one guy, one guy cares all about bigger, stronger, run over you. That's the Yancey stuff, right? With the Torrey Becton, it's all about movement, getting you faster, getting you lethal, right? And so I think that, whenever that's kind of the core mission of the strength and conditioning program at Texas right now. It's like their North Star is just lethal speed. Obviously, I think that probably just by osmosis, going through this thing for a long enough time, you're going to learn these little things that are going to help you with your not only your functional speed on the football field, but also your ability to test and run real fast.
Well, staying on that theme too, Alex. I mean, one of the core differences is that Yancey would focus, to your point, heavy lifting, but they also felt like that contributed to a lot of injuries with guys. Jordan Whittington's a great example of that, right? We saw Jordan, and he was always a heavy lifting kind of guy, and he could never stay healthy. And Torrey Becton and those guys are like, look, dude, you gotta stop this. We don't need you, maxed out on bench and all these kind of things. And then you're actually able to see Jordan Whittington when it looked like when he stayed healthy. So there is a lot of that too, to making sure that they have that functional strength that you're talking about, and not just and they are big and strong and fast, but to your point, it's just totally different mentality. And by the way, you mentioned strength and conditioning coaches. Man, we've hyped up some ones that, in hindsight, you remember Pat Moore in the pit?
Yeah.
At some point, we're like, you know what? That was some BS that we were told.
You get injured and they send you to a prison labor camp, dude. It's like it's like the thing where it's like what's that old Western movie where it's like he makes him go dig a hole all day and then just fill it back up again at the end.
Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah. Just like they like. You get injured, you got this broken leg. It's like, all right, well, you go over there into that sand pit and you just go crawl through it for all the whole practice. And we're like, is this for real? Like, go around, you got to walk around with these 2 tires on your shoulders because you have this this busted ankle. It's just like, God, golly. And Charlie would always say it's because we don't want guys to fake injuries and stuff. But these guys, they're really injured. What are you doing to them? So,
that's your big issue at big D1 college football, faking injuries. That's within the team. Like, that's the big issue. Oh,
every strength and conditioning coach that I can think of, going back to Mad Dog Madden, Benny Wiley, every time they get hired, the fan base is like, oh, this guy's the greatest. And then like a year later, it's like, why are we fading in the fourth quarter? What, this guy sucks. The one that Sark's has is seems to his reputation is held up. The others not quite so much.
This is finally seeing like they have the real deal for strength and conditioning staff and everything. And again, you see the transfer. They've even worked. I mean, they worked on Arch Manning speed. Like, I mean, they do a lot of.
Torrey Becton probably uses actual like science, and not that the others say the others don't, but it's not. He says not crawling through sand pits and stupid shit.
The old school water is a reward for after practice or during practice, and if you don't get if you guys are don't run hard enough, you can't get any water, like that kind of mentality. Yes.
Yeah. And once you get out of that sand pit, you might need some Rogue Shop. You just might. This is not old school football kind of training. Remember to check out Rogue Shop and that great website they have. There's your QR code. All kinds of great stuff, from the gummies to the salve that heard the guys talking about this week. There's stuff for your pets. If you got pets freaking out in the house, or if it's you that's got a little anxiety or something, maybe you're having trouble sleeping, all that kind of stuff, Rogue Shop can help you out. Check them out. They sponsor the Monday Overreaction show, and they've been a partner with Orange Bloods and Orange Bloods Live for a long time now. We had a couple of chats I wanted to hit here. Somebody was interested in the Gilbo discussion and what it means for another player. With Gilbo possibly moving to the outside, what does it say about Kobe Black and his development? Thank you, Jay Wags, for that question. Alex, what do you think of with Black in terms of this Gilbo move?
Well, I mean, it's I guess it. I mean, it's a move. It's a move on the roster, something they're tinkering with. So it obviously has to do with what I was going to say earlier, and I never got around to it. I don't think that this should be viewed as necessarily an indictment on Kobe Black as much as it would be something where they just, I mean, Gilbo's good, right? It's like, I don't think I don't think you have to say like this is necessarily, oh gosh, we've just, I guess there's maybe a 15% chance that they've been at winter condition, and this would be despite what I've heard. All I've heard is good things about Kobe Black. Like that's all I've heard. So, but I'd say there's maybe a 10% chance that this decision came from or had something to do with like, golly, we can't really have, we can't have it be Manny and Kobe, right? But like, we got to try something else. I think there's a 90% chance. It's just like, Jalen Gilbo's really good. We did this thing last year with Jade. Let's see if we can get this thing done again with Gilbo this year. Like, he's a baller. Let's put him in a more premium position. With that being said, I also think that like if you look at last year, it was basically it was the safeties that would rotate out a whole lot more, right? Last year you basically had Jade Barron and Manny Muhammad, that were the two main cogs at corner, right? But in the past they've done this stuff with corner just like they did at safety last year, where they would have a third one come in and stuff. So I also think, well, I don't know about how that, because Manny Muhammad would mainly only play at the boundary corner, and I feel like this would be a year where he would maybe begin to play some field, some boundary, because we know that Kobe Black, whenever he played last year, he played, how many snaps did he play last year? 107 snaps last season. And he was good, right? Kobe Black was good on 107 snaps last season. He generated production once every 6.8 snaps. That's awesome for a corner. But he was always on the boundary. He never played field, right? And I think that goes to show the way that they feel about his skill set. He's not one of these guys that's going to, the field side is the wide side of the field, right? The boundary is the kind of skinny. It's like with the hash marks, right? The boundary side is the side that has, it's the short side of the field, and the field side is the wide side.
Right.
And
so you're better, more dynamic corner who you trust more. You're going to put him on the field.
No, but you're more physical. You're more physical corner who can press, who can run with guys, who can operate better in those smaller spaces, but not necessarily, have to get out of his T-step and run, 15 yards and then get in some kind of, zone coverage or whatever. I think that, that was always like, that's with Gavin Holmes, right? Small, moves really well on his feet, fast. That's your traditional kind of they would never put Gavin Holmes at the boundary corner, right? So I do find that interesting, because you do consider Manny Muhammad to be a guy that they played mostly at the boundary. Jalen Gilbo at the field, I think those guys will probably be interchangeable and stuff. And so I think that Kobe Black, maybe that's a small detriment to him getting onto the field if he can't have that versatility to play both. That's the only thing I think about with Kobe Black. I don't think this is an indictment on him. I think this is the team saying, like, look, we really like Gilbo. Let's see if we can run this thing back, kind of like what happened with Jade last season.
Yeah, and it does help that, you got a fresh set of eyes with Akina in there. And, I'm sure he went and looked at the film, and I would say this: if Akina says this is where guys need to be in the secondary, you won't hear me question any damn thing. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, the man's got a resume for such things.
I've heard he's pretty good.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Another question on that defensive side from Big Chetta. Do you anticipate the Spence kid stepping into the David Benda role, or will he play more than that? You mentioned Spence a little earlier, Alex. How do you think that works out?
If I had to put my money on it right now, I'd say he starts.
Man,
I mean, he's really good.
Yeah.
Liam Lafau was good last year. I mean, I feel like they became a little bit disappointed with him a tiny bit down the stretch. What you got to remember about Lafau is both him and Ant Hill ended the season in tatters. Those guys were both banged up and hurt, but with like multiple kind of injuries. So I think that had to do something with Leonga Lafau down the stretch. But Brad Spence was set up. I'll ask you guys. I understand that stepping up from Arkansas to Texas, that's an upgrade, and I think it's still SEC, but it feels like a slight upgrade, right? It feels like, you hear these scouts, you hear these GMs at the combine get asked these questions about how much different is it now evaluating players with all the times that they transfer, and these GMs, they say things like, we look at a lot of stuff with the transfers. We look at sometimes it's good. Like they can work in this system or this system. They have versatility and stuff. But we also look at, are you moving up or are you moving down? Right? Like what kind of transfer was this? Are you going to better competition or worse? I think it's still SEC competition. I'm not sure it's that much better to come to Texas than it is to be at Arkansas, just from a pure long-term NFL projection standpoint, right? And so if you're Brad Spence, who by all accounts and by everything I can tell and the work I've done on him, and from what they say at Arkansas, is he was set to be like the starter and the key guy next year. Why do you come to Texas if they don't tell you that you're going to start?
Yep.
So,
I totally agree. He's got to get some serious playing time.
Yeah. So I see him being much more involved than a David Bendo last season.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Big Cheddar, thank you for that chat. I think it's a thank you from Matt. Matt, this is the first time I've seen someone not only send us a P chart chat, but give us like a representation. I don't know whether to applaud or
I can tell you the P chart changed my life though. I mean, I always look, and then like, you don't want to be a bad guy, a bad teammate, right? You're like, damn, I can't have it like that.
You're an awful teammate. That's the third one there, right? Yeah. That kind of orange one.
That's right. And what the championship level is what you want to be, right? On the clear side.
It is very memorable. I've had people to this day told me like, man, whenever I think about that P chart, I look, man, I know I need to drink more water. Like it did, for some reason, it did affect a lot of people. We still remember it.
Anwar, I love the fact that, like, when a long time from now, when your illustrious career may be over, somebody's going to walk up to you like in a random park or restaurant and reference the P chart. And you're just going to be like, oh my God, really? This is what you remember?
It's hilarious. It's the thing that you never know what's going to go viral, because if you did, you would do it every day, right? Yeah. No clue. Just walking randomly in Moncrief one day and seeing a couple of them and taking a picture of it, that would be the thing that we're talking about 6, 7, 8 years later. It's pretty hilarious to me.
It is crazy. Thank you guys for jumping in the Specs chat. Over 500 of you in there right now. Remember, if you need to get stocked up, Specs is the place. Here's Lisa.
As a Texas family-owned business, we know you don't mess with Texas. And you won't find more ways to raise a glass of Texas-made cheer than right here. So whatever you're planning, we're ready to get you ready.
And remember, if you want to throw us a super chat, it'll go right to the top of the list. We've already had a couple of those. Good chat discussion today. Neil Brown, former coach at West Virginia, is going to be on the Longhorn staff as an offensive analyst of some sort. And then these position changes that Anwar reported on orangebloods.com. Defensive side of the ball, Trey Moore, Jelani McDonald, and Jalen Gilbo getting a look at slightly different positions on the defensive side. We've been discussing all of that. Jason, tomorrow, we should get in terms of our programming set up. Remember, tomorrow, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. will be the recruiting hour. Jason, give me a little preview. Give the people a little taste of what we'll be talking about tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I feel like there's a discussion about A&M commitment out there.
Yeah, Texas trying to poach at least one A&M commitment, and they've got a legit shot. Aaron Gregory, the wide receiver, we'll dig into that a little bit. Some more running back talk, some new offer talk, running back recruiting. Anwar and I talked about it this morning on his show. It's the last few weeks, it's been something a pretty new development every week where things change and things move around. So we'll get caught up on running back recruiting, some wide receiver talk, Chad, and just the dead period is over. Dead period lifted on Sunday night.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
We'll start seeing some guys taking visits, including, what the hell? We'll preview. Oklahoma's actually having a recruiting weekend this week. We're going to bring some guys in some of those guys are Texas targets, a handful of them. So we'll probably talk a little bit. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. What is it? So keep an eye on the enemy or behind enemy lines. Yes.
There you go.
Hey, Jason, I have a question about these A&M guys. Why did these two like stud Georgia guys commit to A&M? And then the other thing is, so if Aaron, what's his last Aaron
Gregory.
So if Aaron Gregory, I forgot his teammate's name, but he's a defensive end edge guy. If Gregory is wavering, like, are those two like a package deal kind of, or not a package deal, but what does it mean about that dude's commitment?
I haven't heard that. I mean, Texas has offered him, and I'm trying to find his Jordan Carter. Texas has offered him, but I don't think he's ever visited. I don't know that they're a package deal. I mean, they're both really good, but I mean, Aaron Gregory can go wherever he wants, and nobody's going to turn him down. But I don't know necessarily they're a package deal, Alex. Your first question is one of life's big mysteries. A&M has 9 commitments. 8 of them are from out of state guys. They got some legit, like, rivals, top 100 types, guys that could be 5-star conversation when it's said and done. If you listen to Texas fans in A&M, I've asked A&M people, like, what are they doing? And they're like, I don't really know. Like, they just got some early momentum. But Texas fans will tell you, hey, man, they're just paying these dudes for early commitments to build up the perception of momentum. Now, what will happen between now and December? It's a long ways away. I mean, how many? Look, they got 9 commitments right now. 1 from the state of Texas, so 8 obviously not from the state of Texas. Best guess, maybe they keep 4 or 5 of them. I mean, they're going to have to fight those out-of-state guys. It's an interesting strategy, but you know what? It did help A&M build up a lot of early momentum, and it kind of snowballs. Things have kind of faded off a little bit there, but I'll give that A&M craft staff credit. They've done a good job early on in this recruiting process. Texas is sitting at 3 commitments. But that's kind of how Texas operates. That's not their MO to go out and push for a bunch of commitments a year in advance. A&M's sitting with their number 3 in the team recruiting rankings right now with 9 commitments. And that's what they had a couple guys peel off fairly recently of their commitments. Maybe some mutual decision stuff there, but it's pretty interesting. I've never seen anything like it, Alex, where they've got 8 out-of-state commitments this early. I don't know what they're telling these kids, what they're selling them, but the kids are buying in.
What do you think? What does our resident Aggie think about this tactic? Possibly paying them early to get early momentum. I mean, it could work.
8 out of 9 is wild. And that number is wild, but also the notion, guys, that we could be in a version of college football where it's not just like NIL or money to actually commit, but to early commit. Like, so what is there an agreement? We have to lay this out. Okay, here's what you're going to get.
Technically, that's a no-no, but like nobody gives a shit, right? Yeah.
It's this much to say you're going to commit to us, but then you turn around and say, "No, I don't have to." Right? You understand that signing day is coming up. So I mean,
there are schools who are paying recruits. A lot of them, not just a few, are paying recruits to take unofficial visits. Hey, come visit our school, and we'll give you $10,000. I mean, it's people focus on NIL. There's still a lot of shady shit that goes on in recruiting. Okay, so
hey, Jason, are there any schools out there paying reporters to write positive things about? I don't
know. I'm over here. Let's start down the payment, man.
I'm just saying, there's ways to get this done, guys. If you need some help, I don't know who you are, but you just contact me. I got you covered.
Man, it's crazy. I understand Mike Elko was just coaching at a place that's a lot closer to Georgia than College Station. And obviously now they're in a conference. He's in a conference with Georgia, but that's a lot of out of state to be 8 out of 9. That's an interesting story to keep an eye on. We'll hit that in the recruiting hour tomorrow. Obviously, a lot of Longhorn fans would love to know that they had taken that big a recruit. Jason, is he clearly the biggest recruit on that board for the Aggies, or do they also have a couple other guys that are?
That edge guy's pretty good, man. His teammate's probably up there.
Yeah, he's their highest rated commitment, Chad, if that's what you're asking. But as far as guys they're in the race for, no, they're in the race for some top 5 national legit 5-star type guys. Yeah, so
I got you. But in terms of the guys on their list, he's definitely up towards the top. I saw him rated at number 6 receiver in America.
Yeah, he's the highest rated commitment. Rivals just updated their rankings, and He is 42 nationally. Actually dipped a little bit. A couple of their guys did, but he is their highest rated commit right now.
Gotcha. If you guys want to throw in a super chat, we will get to that. Also, I did have a post-combine question for Alex Dunlap. We will get to that.
For him too.
Yeah. We'll get into some combine stuff because Alex is back from Indianapolis and saw a lot of interesting things. First off, let me hit you with a little sinus and snoring specialist. This is the place that can make sure you're sleeping better, you're feeling better, you're resting better, and get rid of all that snoring, get rid of all that stuff. And here are 5 words I probably haven't said in a while, but I need to say them from time to time. Don't tape your mouth shut. Every time I hear about this thing, it just freaks me out. I know it freaks Dr. Slaughter and the folks at Sinus and Snoring Specialists out. Don't tape your mouth shut. If you're one of those, if you're like me and you are a mouth breather, that's what Dr. Slaughter called me when he met me. You know why? Because my nasal passages were blocked up. Well, if you go taping your mouth shut and you've got blocked up nasal passages, that's not good. That is dangerous stuff. So please do not fall for that kind of garbage. Go get it fixed any other way at any other place. Obviously, I'm going to recommend Sinus and Snoring Specialist, but please don't tape your mouth shut. You can go to Dr. Slaughter himself. He'll meet you in that first consultation and explain to you why that is so dangerous. But more importantly, explain all the different things they can do for you to actually fix what's wrong with you in terms of sinus, allergies, get rid of the snoring, get rid of the sleep apnea, and get you to feeling a lot better. SinusSnoringENT.com or 601-0303. You can securely text or call that number. Check them out. Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. And don't tape your mouth shut. Ever. Don't do that. Don't do that.
If you're having trouble breathing, I think the last thing you need to do is tape your mouth shut. I'm just going to throw that out there as you might want to reconsider.
No, that's it.
Snore might be the last thing you have to worry about. Dying will be kind of it's that priority.
That is it. So, Alex, my weird combine question for you coming out of it is to this gunner helm situation. You've been to a lot of combines. You've seen a lot of stuff. You ever seen a guy twist an ankle like that on a false start 40? Have you ever seen something like that? Because I had never seen it.
Seen some stuff. I was there live for the Chris Jones 40, wherever he had a wardrobe misfunction there. When he was
I remember. Yeah, remember that one. There have been times when the guys I can't think of it specifically. There have been times where guys pull up in the 40 and they bail out and they hold in their hamstring or something. Right. When it's an obvious hammy like that and you got to come out, I get it. But
I've seen that. I've never seen. Obviously, I was paying close. I was there. I was paying close attention to Gunnar Helm. To be honest, I didn't really. I just thought it was a false start. I didn't notice that it was something where he was hurt.
Me too. I missed it.
It happens so quickly. You almost have to watch it in slow motion. It's just such a boom.
Yeah. Hopefully, God, that picture though that Jack Beck, I think Jack Beck is his agent. That picture that he sent to Rap Sheet, certainly a pretty gnarly looking ankle. Like it didn't look good. And I can't believe he improved from his first 40 to his second 40 in that one. I do think that prior to it, I was worried. We were watching the jumps and I don't think he did a broad jump, but he only got to 30 on the vertical, which I guess is just better than Jatavion Sanders did last year. But he tested famously badly last year. But I was like, man, he only jumped 30. That's not very explosive. He's probably not going to run too fast. That doesn't always work, but it's usually it's a good indicator. If you get a guy broad jumping, from sea to shining sea and jumping through the roof for the vertical, you're going to say, all right, when that guy walks over to the line for the 40, he's going to run real fast because that's a really explosive guy, right? But Gunnar didn't have a good jump at first, so I wasn't expecting him to run that fast. I do think at the combine he'll run faster. I'm sorry, at Pro Day he'll run faster. Everybody always runs faster at Pro Day because you generally get about 5/100ths of a second added on for the Pro Day, and it's not because of the stop. it's because of the start. People have because the scouts get at the 40-yard line and they're right there, right? So they always get it right whenever they cross the 40. But your mind, your perception, whenever they put their arm up and they bring it forward, it's just like 0.5 of a second. It's a little, just tiny microseconds, right? It's like one little synapse of your brain that it's a little bit slow. And so they get that start. And so when that start happens, just that 0.5 of a second later, of course, whenever they get to the finish line, that's going to be 0.5 of a second faster as far as the time, right? It's not done by a machine. So he'll run faster because of that. Everybody will run faster because of that. But I do think he'll run faster than he will on that ankle that was, but I mean, it was like a balloon. So yeah, he'll have a chance to improve that at the pro day. But I mean, I think honestly, man, like he'll have some things to prove with his jumps and stuff too. I think he needs to really get to work on that. And what do we have? Exactly 3 weeks onward. Is it the 25th? It's pro day.
I believe that's what I reported. I don't remember that specific.
Yeah, I think it's 25th.
Yeah,
he's got 3 weeks. I don't know. Like I couldn't come back from that gnarly ankle on 3 weeks. Yeah, but he's like 22. I'm sure he'll be fine in 3 days.
That was so crazy. Anwar, you said you had a question for Alex?
Yeah, Alex, I kind of had a question about Cam Williams. Did he perform at all at the combine? Did he just interview? Because I was looking for numbers. I didn't see any. I was just kind of curious.
He didn't do anything.
Is he injured or something? Like
I mean, he got surgery after the season. Okay. So yeah, I'm not sure he'll even do pro day and stuff. The most interesting thing about Cam Williams is he's taking a little bit of a fall here. You know, feels like the way Cody said it on our show was like, feels like Alfred Collins and Cam Williams are like paths or like ships crossing in the night as far as the directions they're going, right? Mm-hmm. Alfred Collins now feels like the guy that's going to, maybe go top 40, whereas that's what we always thought about Cam before. And Cam looks like he's probably going to fall. There's the injury stuff. There's the horrible tape in the first game versus Georgia, just horrible. There's the horrible tape in the Ohio State game, just miserable. And some people said, dude, that tape was just too bad. And then he's injured. He's not going to work out. There's been a yo-yo cycle with his weight. 1 year he's 370. The next year he comes down to 330, plays really well. But by the end of the season, he was weighing like 313 pounds. Shows up for his combine training like that. I was told that he's been a 0 on the chalkboard or on the whiteboard. As far as kind of talking through plays and talking through that, doing that. And you could maybe explain some of that. He's still pretty green as far as, he's not Jake Majors who's going to go in there and, been doing this 5 years. I could point out exactly what's happening on this play, but they've expected a little bit more from him in his interviews and in his sort of whiteboard sessions. So yeah, I think that he's trending down as far as his stock in the NFL. And I don't, but I think a team could, if he falls, I think if he gets into gets in towards the end of the second round, if I was an NFL GM, I'd say, screw it, man. Put on the tape from the good games. Don't tell me what the guy can't do. I want to see what he can do. And when you see what he can do at the height of his powers, I think he'll end up being a value in the draft. It feels like right now he's taking a lot of he's taking some slings and arrows, but that's how it goes through this process, man. You got 14 players from Texas in this draft. No, 14 in the combine. There's other guys that didn't get invited that are in the draft. I mean, Silas Bolden's in the draft. Bill Norton's in the draft. Jermaine Lole, they're in the draft. They weren't at the combine. But when you have 14 of these guys at the combine, you're not going to, not every one of them is going to have a Matthew Golden or a Jahdae Barron type of, just everything you're going to hear about him is just glowing remarks about how well they're handling the process. It's like, I feel like Cam Williams is somebody who might be sliding a little bit.
All right. It is the Modcast on a Tuesday. Anwar, anything else you had for Alex?
Yeah, just again, forgive me. I was just the other offensive linemen like Majors and Connor. I think I saw one of your notes. I think where Connor was asked to stay late, or maybe it was Cody that had it and get some reps at center. I apologize for not having the correct attribution, but I was just curious about those two guys as well.
Yeah. So, Jake Majors is higher, I think, on maybe people's boards than Texas fans might think. just because Texas fans lump in all of Jake Majors' entire career with what we've seen out of him in the last 2 years, and fans get mad at him for the snap infractions and things like, you know how fans are. But one person, waiter and scout, told me that as far as pure centers in the draft, guys that are pure centers, just from what he brings from the neck up to a team, feels like one of the safest picks that you could make, based on where he's going to go, right? He's probably not going to, I doubt he'll be a day 2 guy. He'll probably be a guy that goes, relatively early on day 3. So maybe 4th, 5th round. And then with Hayden Conner, I think it's just simple as pie as far as staying out. I mean, if I were those scouts, I would have made him stay after and take snaps too. He's played center. He's been good. He's played it a lot more in practice than he has in actual games. But you guys have been out there at practice. You guys have seen Hayden Conner snapping footballs and identifying mics and stuff like that. Like that's what he does in certain situations this season. Depending on who would have gotten hurt, you probably would have seen Hayden Conner move into center for Jake Majors, right? Or have Cole Hudson come in and backfill for him, depending on how things would have worked, right? I feel like if DJ Campbell would have gotten hurt, probably they would have put Cole Hudson in for. I guess that wouldn't involve Majors. There've been permutations in my head where I've thought like, well, maybe they would put in Hudson, maybe they would put in Connor, but it feels like they would put in either of those guys before they would put in the true number 2 center, Connor Robertson, right? So he's had experience playing center. Any versatility is better. One of the things that he takes pride in is the fact that he started at every position. He's played every position at Texas. He's made starts at every position except for right tackle during his time at Texas. He's played 4 spots. If that's something that he's been telling the people in meetings and something that his agent has been putting out there, I think it makes all the sense in the world to see. It's like, well, hey, it's like, let's see if we can add value here to your profile. You want to come take some center snaps. And if I know Hayden Conner, he's the jump at that opportunity. He's a smart guy.
All right. And thanks to Carl, who gave us a little love. Modcast best show on OB. Carl, thank you. We appreciate it. I've got a couple quick buy or sells for you guys before we get out of here. Anything before we hit it? Y'all good?
Just lastly for Alex, this Matthew Golden, is he doing anything at Pro Day at this point? Or is he pretty much a made man and he just shows up in a mean coat and just lives his best life?
The crazy thing on War is he's the best route runner in the draft. So it's like, it's wild for me to say that he's not going to go out there and run routes and show it off. But it's like, I mean, dude, I can't believe I'm at the point where I'm like, man, is he my wide receiver 1 this year?
That's wild.
Like Matthew Golden. But right. It's like, you just look at what he did down the stretch of the season. He looks like, he goes into Odell Beckham, just prime Odell Beckham mode. Yeah. And then you just like, but you never thought these guys like top 5 in the whole NFL as far as wide receivers, as far as his speed. Like, I don't know, man. Like he probably doesn't have to do anything. The reason why he did that on a kind of bum ankle anyway, Anwar.
That's crazy.
Like he still had a little bit of a high ankle,
man.
So I don't know.
That's crazy. I'll tell you what he needs to do. For those that are familiar with SEC shorts, he needs to show up in that dude's Vanderbilt outfit. That's what he needs to show up in. Sunglasses, the crown, just the whole thing.
I know I wouldn't do anything. I'd say, peace out, guys. I'm here to support my friends and talk to these scouts, man. Like,
Quinn, you're on your own, buddy.
Yeah, that is it. All right, real quick, and we'll do a little combine talk here as well before we get out of here. And again, if you guys want to slip a super chat in, we can get to that real quick, fellas. We'll start with Anwar on this one. Buy or sell number 1. If you're an NFL GM and you have a pick in the 2nd round and you're taking a quarterback, you'd pick Quinn over Dart, Shuck, and Milroe. Buy or sell?
Yeah, if Quinn falls to me in the 2nd round, and yeah, I'll take Quinn over those guys. Milroe, I good athlete, it's okay passer, but I think at that point, Quinn in the 2nd round is a safe part. I'm not going to get fired if it doesn't pan out in the 2nd round for me, and 2nd round also means he probably gets to sit for a couple of years anyway. I don't need a starter, so I'd go ahead and take Quinn at that point.
Alex, buy or sell?
I hate to say it. I mean, it depends on who my starting quarterback is right now. I mean, if I'm the Ravens and I'm in the second round, I take Milroe. But man, if I was, dude, I hate to say it. I don't think I would. I'm not sure which one out of Dart or Shuck I would take, but I think between the two of them, I'm still up in the air about this whole thing right now about the kind of quarterback three in my mind, and Quinn, Dart, and Shuck are three of those. I honestly think if I had to pick one that had to come in and just play immediately, Shuck's like 25 years old. He's played in college for 6 years. This last season, he had better tape than either of those guys. I do love Jackson Dart. He didn't leave me as spellbound as he left some people at the Senior Bowl this year. It's a really hard question, but I don't think I could defend it. I think I have to say sell. I think I might talk myself into Dart or Shuck.
Gotcha. Jason?
Milroe's intriguing, but you just can't trust his arm. People are comparing him to Lamar Jackson. I get it, like Alex, but he's not Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson was, even in college, a much better passer. But I think people will look. There's going to be some coaches says I can turn him into Lamar Jackson. No, you're not going to. But to answer the question, I would buy it, and there's the reason why. I don't love any of those guys to be leading my team, but I think Quinn has the highest boom possibility where, 5 years from now, we might be like, oh shit, man, he was never healthy, but that's why he was so limited. And this guy actually has turned out to be a really, really good quarterback. I think Quinn has maybe the highest ceiling of that group. I don't know if he'll reach it or not. So, but I think I would buy that right now.
Interesting. All right, Alex, we're starting with you. Way off track. Buy or sell number 2. John Cena turning heel in WWE hit your radar this weekend. Buy or sell?
No, I don't. Is John Cena? He's just a wrestler, or is he an actor or something?
That's a sell, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. That's a sell.
Both Alex.
Jason Sukamel, buy or sell?
Hit my radar when I saw you post about it on Orange Bloods. That's the only I saw.
Fair enough. There's a buy. It hit your radar. Anwar, buy or sell?
It hit my radar on X, but not because I watched it.
Fair enough. And finally, we're starting with Jason on this one. Buy or sell number 3. You are a better poker player than Jeff Ketchum. Buy or sell?
That is an easy sell. I don't even know how to play poker. I can play 5-card whatever, but I don't even know how to play Texas Hold'em and all this complicated poker that people play now. So
okay, fair enough. Anwar, buy or sell?
Sell. Same with Jason. I don't know how to play that game.
All right, how about the guy that's in the tournament today? Let's finish with Alex. Buy or sell?
Today, am I missing? I thought it was
tomorrow. I'm sorry, tournament tomorrow.
No, I don't got time today. I just got my car wrecked into by some dude. Yeah. Need to go take it in. No, I mean, yeah, man, I'm a better poker player than Catch.
All right.
He's buying and he's in the tournament tomorrow. Let me remind you one more time. Check out hijackpoker.com. Online poker in the great state of Texas. Remember, you got to be in the state of Texas to enjoy this and get in that tournament tomorrow. We're talking to you on Tuesday. It's Wednesday at noon. Catch will be on the show, house divided, but he will also be involved in this poker tournament. Check out hijackpoker.com for more details. I kind of had a feeling Alex was going to admit that. All right, I think we're just about done. Fellas, anything else we need to hit in the modcast this week? All right. I think we're good. Thank y'all for liking, subscribing, getting those notifications. Damn near 600 of you in there as we get ready to close up. Thanks to Specs and all our great partners. And we wish all of you a good Tuesday. Football with Friends this evening at 6 with Alex and Cody, still recapping stuff from the Combine. Anwar's got the old-fashioned for you tomorrow at 9 a.m., plus all the great reporting at orangebloods.com. And Jason and I will have the recruiting hour for you at 10 tomorrow morning. It's 10 a.m. every Wednesday. We'll talk recruiting. We'll talk about those mean Longhorns trying to take Aggie commitments. I just can't believe it. Also, check out the 321 article that Jason gets you every week on orangebloods.com. All right. You guys have a great Tuesday, and we will talk to you next Tuesday at 10 a.m. for another modcast. Take care of yourselves. It's Orange Bloods Live. See ya.